You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
I'm sure you're just like me and you're looking at the date and you're thinking, there's no way it's the end of the month. Again. But it is. Once again. Yet again. Wow, look at that. What happens when you go to sleep after taking a shower? Yet again, it's the end of the month. How is that possible? I mean, didn't we just start this? Wow. Well, wait, think about that for a moment. Let me bring Darryl in here for that. Think about that for a moment, Darryl. We're about to enter into October. We were talking about, I think it was March 10th. Let's see. Was March 10th a Tuesday? Let me check. March. Yep. March 10th was a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Steel trap, baby. Steel trap. Somebody out there is going, he obviously looked at the calendar before he said that. Yeah, if you're a Muppet, like if I was a Muppet like you, I'd think that too, because that's what I would have done if I was a Muppet. I would have done something and then said something later as if I hadn't have done it to give people the impression that, yeah, no. We don't play that game around here, Muppet boy. Anyway, March 10th, Tuesday. Someone's going, wow, what's Allan so upset about? Not upset. I just woke up. I'm tired. I've had 2 sips of my coffee, and I'm rip-roaring and ready to go. Maybe it was all that masking I had to deal with the last 2 weeks. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
It was just like that scene out of Twin Peaks where all the cops are in the diner and they all take a sip of coffee at the same time.
And then we both went, the hell's going on? We're morphing into one.
It's the mind meld, the Vulcan mind meld.
So anyway, March 10th, on this show, we were talking about this thing that just entered our territory, our country. This thing called the coronavirus, the COVID-19.
Chameleons.
Yeah, we're happy chameleons. Yeah. Right. March 10th, on this show, we talked about how something had changed, something had shifted within a week from the last previous show, and how we were now we're going to be under quarantine, and don't go outside, your hands, wear gloves. Remember that? Wear the gloves and sanitize everything and everyone. And if you're gonna remember when you got an Amazon package, I'd be out there with a mask and gloves on, cutting the cardboard box up to open up the package without trying not to touch any of the cardboard to save the package from within the cardboard, which for some reason would be safe, and then bring that into the house. But you would leave that poor infested Amazon cardboard box outside, and then you would throw it into the regular trash because it's, not that makes any sense. It's not like we were going to burn it or put it in a hazmat bag or, and then when you would bring your groceries in, you would separate your counter and you would clean everything and then put it in the clean side. And remember that?
And now they find out that nobody's dying from this thing under 50.
Now they're finding out that none of that helped. The virus didn't travel like that. And you can't die from this thing or something. I don't know. It's just.
Well, no, I mean, again, it goes back to what Chuck Pierce was saying. So he prophesied that this thing would rampage across the world until Passover. But it was what the elite did with it after that is really the main problem.
Yes.
And we're still dealing with that. We're still fighting against that. And so what's really encouraging, though, is a although they give most credit to Franklin Graham for some reason or other, I think it was Jonathan Cahn who really led the charge on this whole return thing that happened in Washington on Saturday. And for 9 hours, or 12 hours rather, it was 9 to 9, they were outside in the whatever that's called, where between the Capitol building and the symbol of Nimrod over there in the background. And they were, praying, repenting, and now there's 40 days that have going on. It's almost like we're back at the 50 days of the Omer and counting down to the election. And God's people are gathering together. Nobody was wearing masks. Nobody was social distancing. So there's some interesting things going on. I mean, it's heating up.
Yeah, it is. The number, that 200,000 number is out there now, but more people.
Biden is 200 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. If you want the coronavirus, if you want COVID-19 to go away, you have to vote Trump 2020. Yeah, because if you vote Biden, this virus will never go away. There will be mandatory masks across the country. Let's talk about masks for a minute. Have you gotten any masks in the mail yet? I have. I got some.
No, I have not yet. But
so here's the thing. Here's why you can't just put it on and show people. Someone will screenshot it, and then there's going to be, there could be this big, huge controversy.
Well, we have exemptions here in Ontario.
What's that?
You can just say I'm exempt, and
right.
They have said that.
Right. So here's the last 2 weeks of my life. I was in Dallas, as you know, and in Dallas, everywhere you go publicly to go into any sort of store or whatever, you have to wear a mask. And I posted about the fear that I see in people's eyes. There's just fear in people's eyes walking around the store, like, oh no, there's more than one human in the aisle, and I've got to get through here. Or it's like there's this fear in people's eyes. And then COVID-19 and your health. Who the hell is that? You got to expose yourself. Who the hell is calling themselves COVID-19 and your health on here? Oh my God. Hi thee to all of you. Shalom. So we either have an infiltrator among us, which means we can't say anything now because,
someone from the Chinese Communist Party is here.
Yeah, who the heck is that? Well, now I don't trust anybody. Should send somebody to their house. No. What does no mean? COVID-19 in your health? No. What's that answer to? No to what's what are they saying no to?
Anyway,
trust them completely. We don't have to be skeptics. Oh, is this a Muppet? Do we have a Muppet among us?
I don't know. Anyway, pay no attention. So you were saying.
Yeah, so anyway, there's masks. You have to wear masks everywhere. In Colorado, you have to wear masks everywhere. But if you walk into some place without a mask, they can't ask you why you're not wearing a mask, because if you have a medical condition, then they just broke the law. And so they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you smoke a lot of pot. Mandatory state law, but then I can't enforce it because by trying to enforce it, I break another one. How about that woman tased and dragged out of a kid's
game
for not having a mask on?
Yeah. It's these are crazy times.
I love this. Don't be skeptics. Everybody believe what the lies that they're telling you. Like you said, you can't die. You have less than a 1% chance of dying from this thing, according to the CDC. So yeah,
they change their minds just about every other day.
Oh yeah. And they were doing this back in March. They were doing this, and that's why I was like, you know what? I'm not trusting the numbers. These numbers don't make sense. They don't add up. I think this isn't what it is. And sure enough, here we are at the end of September.
At the fall feast.
At the end of September, during the fall feast, and we are it's amazing, the conditioning, man, the conditioning of a people. And where'd you get kicked out of a pub? Back in Seattle? Well, yeah, we know Seattle. Where were you, Bob? Were you still back in Seattle? People are gonna, of course, Seattle. Yeah. So, masks.
Yeah, it's all about submission. It's all about, they know that they don't work. They know that, as a matter of fact, it causes many more problems than it solves. We have a nurse that fellowships with us, and she's saying, first of all, the masks have to be the N95s. They have to be custom fitted for you. And then even the doctors will tell you that, number one, wearing them is very difficult for long periods of time, and you have to change them on a regular basis. I mean, we're going to start finding out about all these people who are wearing these cloth things, and they're wearing them for days at a time and not washing them. Ooh. And what kind of health problem. And then with the schools, oh my goodness, like the schools, they're completely losing it. They're completely losing it. Like, nobody knows what the heck is going on. And it's almost as if the Premier of Ontario, he's like the governor, and he's just standing back and watching this, because what was going on in the school system was so insane before COVID all broke out with the whole transgenderism and everything else. And I'm watching God just rip this thing to the ground. Like the whole public school system had to be completely shredded in order to rebuild it back into actually educating our children again, as opposed to propagandizing them. So what we look at as being a negative thing, it's actually very positive. All these churches that closed down, and many of them haven't opened up back up yet. Some of them may never do it.
Ridiculous, man.
And that's good. That's good, because these churches weren't leading people to truth. They weren't discipling people. All they were doing was running their programs to keep the machine going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So here we are at the end of the month, another end of the month, and we're about to enter into October. That was March, April, May, June, July, August. That's 7 months, man. We've been doing this COVID-19 dance for 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't been a very cooperative dance partner. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Chance. That sucks.
Wow.
It's not
They're calling everything a COVID death.
Well, yeah, but poor guy, man. Died way too young.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. But for those who cling close to the Lord, I mean, he's going to give them wisdom in this.
Unless of course, if your name is, COVID-19 and your health. Wisdom of the Lord there. Yeah, it's been a very interesting 7 months. I can't believe we're at the end of September. I mean, so we were gone 2 weeks. I came, it's cold. It's a little chilly out here. And it was a bit warm when we left. Yeah.
Yeah, the temperature dropped like 10 Celsius yesterday here.
Yeah. It's supposed to get back up again, but still, it's October.
Yeah.
It's October.
So we had a wonderful Kol Nidre service on Sunday night. We were broadcasting from the church. I actually had a pastor from Niagara Falls who showed up. And, he's all about trying to foster unity. He says that he agrees with the feast days. He was fasting all weekend. And God really showed up. He was, like I said a little earlier, he was delivering people. We were talking about teshuvah the whole time, and returning back to God. And this is what this whole season is all about. It's not just about giving a quick prayer of repentance and then going about your business. It's actually changing your mind. It's actually changing your behavior. And this is what God is calling the remnant to do. I think we're in the season now where there's a strong delusion over the body. And this is the point where many will start falling away. We're already seeing it in action.
Yeah.
I have one lady who lives here in the Niagara Falls area.
Niagara Falls.
And she has been a huge John MacArthur fan for a long time. And, God bless John MacArthur for what he's doing. But because she's a nurse and because she's bought into the whole mask thing and that you should wear a prophylactic over your entire body 24/7.
Like COVID-19 in your health.
Yeah, exactly. Or wear a mask when nobody's in the car with you driving.
Oh man, that's my favorite. My favorite. Don't make fun of that guy or girl when they're driving all by themselves in the car and the windows are all rolled up and they're wearing a mask and they're alone in their own car.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, because MacArthur has taken a stand against masks, all of a sudden she doesn't agree with him anymore. It's just like, I thought you liked this guy.
Of course not.
And so now you're demonizing him. It's like, what's with the judgment?
Apparently, I've got my, what's that?
Christians are very judgmental.
Yeah. So I have a Christian friend who they believe that I'm highly prophetic, not pathetic, prophetic.
Oh, good.
And,
glad you clarified that.
Yeah, I know because there's somebody out there like COVID-19 your health that might have misheard me. But anyway, they think I'm highly prophetic and I know what I'm talking about. I've got my act together. I've got my cock-a-doo-doo together, blah, 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 blah. I'm pretty much got it all going on except for that Trump stuff. I'm 100% wrong about that Trump stuff.
So,
but everything else?
So Biden's the answer?
They're not necessarily saying that either. Because see, when you ask them, well, if Trump's bad, is Biden the answer? Because I don't know. You got to be a special kind of stupid to think that Biden's the answer. You have to be a special kind of stupid to think the Democrats have the answer.
If you're a communist, they're the answer.
If you're yes. If you're a Marxist communist, you're definitely. I have this poor dear friend. Oh man, I'm really starting to think simply because of two interactions I had in the last few days on the Facebook. I'm starting to think that. One of the biggest, and we know this, and of course, this is going to make us sound elitist. This is going to make us sound like a bunch of jerks, but who cares, right? I'm beginning to come. I think I've come to the conclusion that one of the main reasons these people believe what they believe or think what they think is because they're just not very bright. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so they're not seeing Biden the way we see Biden. When he's sniffing little girls and stuff like that, and we go, oh my God, they don't see that. They think, oh, I think they're just not very bright. So one of my poor dear friends, I posted about, I posted that I could share publicly, I could post the link to two of the BLM leaders talking about their involvement with the occult and witchcraft. Did you get a chance to see that? Mm-hmm. Did you see that one? Did you see the video of the two BLM leaders talking about how they're involved with witchcraft?
That's coming out all over the place now.
Well, you would think it's coming out all over the place. Apparently, it's not. So I posted that. I could post that video. Make it easy and
we get shut down again though.
Yeah, I could post that video and blah 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 blah. But you, Mr. Christian friend of mine that still supports this stuff, you would still keep doing what you're doing and believing what you're believing. Because
it doesn't matter what facts
that you can't handle the truth is that you don't want to know the truth. And so my poor dear friends like BLM Christian, I'm so confused. I don't know what you're talking. I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, there was the first clue. So I gently mentioned that there's a video of the two leaders of BLM discussing their involvement with the occult and spirits, witchery. And they're like, oh no, this isn't a religious issue. I'm like, no. But when the leaders of BLM start talking about the occult and spirit and witchery, they make it a religious matter. She's like, well, we need to, you know, we need to constantly, you know, this is a good cause, and we need to. This is about human, you know, rights and this and that. And I'm like, they're obviously not listening or reading I mean, this is all live on my Facebook wall. I mean, it's there for you to read yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, that's not what we're talking about. These people are, you know, a Marxist organization. They're a democratic front. They're not interested or care about anybody's human rights, regardless of color. That's not what this is about.
Yeah, it never.
And when you start talking about the fact that you're using witchery and the occult and spirituality, you know, what does that have to do with a person's human rights? Nothing.
Well, and I'm sorry, if Black Lives Matter, then they would stop abortions.
It's Black Lives Matter asterisk. Black Lives Matter asterisk, and the asterisk is unless you're a conservative Black person, or unless you're a Black person that doesn't agree with our agenda,
or unless you're a that's not born yet.
Exactly.
Or, because what the abortion rate is 5 times in the Black community as it is in the white community, and that was the whole plan by Margaret Sanger. There was a video that I watched a couple of days ago, and I don't think we should harp on this too much, but just to show the level of deception that's out there and the propaganda that's gone, especially in the universities. And of course, the communists knew this, and that's why one of their objectives was to take over the university system.
Right.
It's the same reason that the liberal elites back in the 1920s made it an objective to start infiltrating the seminaries so we could produce a bunch of pointy-headed pastors and theologians coming out that had no idea what the Bible was really saying.
Right.
But this guy, he's an Israeli guy, actually. And he's walking around campuses, and he was asking all these students about what they thought of this quote. And it was from Margaret Sanger about, she's saying that we can't let the people know that our objective is to exterminate the Negro race. That's basically what she said.
Yeah, it's population.
And so he didn't tell them who said it. And he asked, well, what do you think of this quote? Well, that organization needs to be, investigated, and somebody should do something about it. And this one especially bright young lady said that, she was pretty sure she knew who said that. And he says, oh, yeah, well, how would you know? She says, oh, I just know. And she's thinking it's Donald Trump because, Donald Trump is a vile racist and, hates Black people and everything else. So but then the most distressing part about it is when he told them who said it, then they all of a sudden start making excuses. Well, just because the founder said that doesn't mean because the organization still does good work and that it has
That's not why I believe in them. That's not why I'm supporting them. Yeah.
And just I'm looking at these people, I'm thinking it doesn't matter how much truth you bombard, and Chance said that. Chance has made the mistake of giving people way too much intellectual credit.
Yeah. Hey, smiley one. I said a bunch of good stuff, and you didn't say that's right, Allan. What's with your always that's right, Rabbi? It's like, do you have like a hotkey there? You just hit, and all of a sudden it just populates the field with that's right, Rabbi.
Desiree likes me.
The hell. But anyway, so we're trying to explain to this girlfriend of mine how no, they don't believe that. No, this is here's what's really going on. And then so a friend of mine jumps on. Oh, no one attacked her, but a bunch of my friends, this is my echo chamber, the fellow members of my echo chamber. It's kind of like a guild we have going on.
There you see.
Oh my gosh! See, there you go. That's thank you.
She's placating you now.
What's that?
She's placating you now.
Yes, which is worse than not saying anything. Oh man. So a friend of mine who's married to a Black man, this white woman who's married to a Black man, gets on there and starts saying, hey, basically, poor thing, you're listening to the media and this and this and that. And my poor friend who's buying into all this goes, check your white, what's the term? Yeah, check your white privilege. Now, if it's obvious by now that she's just a talking head. She's just spewing the one-liners and the propaganda. They've fed her. They've shoved like propaganda, Chex Mix. Think of something like that. Cereal. They've been shoving all this propaganda down her throat for 7 months that it's like just coming out of her. She doesn't actually know what she's talking about. It's just coming out of, oozing out of her. And she said, pet the ego. Oh my gosh. Then she said, check your white privilege. And I'm like, oh my God. And they basically said, and then somebody else came on and said, white privilege. I'm a single mother. I'm a white single mother of 2, and I have to work a job and did in daycare. And when my kids got sick and I couldn't get any help because I was a white woman that actually had a job and was making a living, and it's the same, so anyway, this poor thing, all these people are giving her, all this truth and facts and all that, and she just didn't know what to do with that information, and she, eventually just disappeared from the conversation. But it's sad because there's not a whole lot of reasoning involved.
You can.
Right. And then I have family members. Oh, my poor dear family members. So I have a family member who posted 200,000 deaths, and there's people out there that still don't think this thing is real, and I'm like, there's other things out there that are killing more people than this COVID-19 thing, and, there's actually people out there that think this is an actual pandemic. I kind of re-quoted what he said. And so he got back and he goes, well, no, I understand that, there's other things killing more people. So he admits that this is, again, it's all right there. It's all in print. It's all in written word, He admits that he understands that there's other things killing more people than this. But here's your but. But I have friends that have died because of complications because of this thing. Well, that's fair, because that's about the one thing that's true about this. Hey, if you're jacked up and you get this thing, it's probably not going to help. That's what they're saying.
When they created this thing, there were 5 viruses that they put together. And from what I've heard here and there, that the objective of this one this isn't like bubonic plague, this isn't Spanish flu, but what it was designed to do was to get it out there. Everybody's now got the antibodies. And so when they send the second one, whenever that's going to come, if they get a chance to do it. Now, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen, because, 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name, and we start praying, repenting, and return, God will heal the land. Now,
Hey, wait. So apparently this COVID-19 is a real name. It's not like somebody trying to, playing with us.
Okay.
It's just weird. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So now we have to be careful in claiming that verse, because the people of the United States, the people of Canada, are not God's people. God has a remnant. There's only one nation. There's only one people of God throughout all the earth, and that's Israel.
America, the United States of America.
Yes, manifest destiny.
USA.
So American Christians can't lay claim to that verse in totality. The principle is still there, but they can't say that, well, that verse applies to us and that we are God's people and that God will heal the United States. If Christians gather, and there's enough Christians, of course, in the United States, that they could turn this thing around and take a stand and get people back. So God can short circuit the plans of the enemy, and he's done that numerous times, because if they had their way, we all would have been wiped out a long time ago.
Right.
But the thing is that what this COVID was designed to do was a test run in order to see how far people would submit. And you have granted, it was scary back when all the pictures were coming out of China and people were literally dropping dead in the streets. And a lot of that was because, of course, Chinese diets are by and large horrendous over there because they just don't have proper nutrition, and the level of toxins in the food, water, and air is beyond anything that we can imagine because, Chinese Communist government doesn't care about the environment. And so what it was allowed to do was to promote fear when people were dying. And then, of course, you have New York and then everything that was going on there. And the 5G, of course, was helping that. But, we're not allowed to talk about that either. That'll probably get us pulled down. But all of these things that were combined that set the stage for Fauci and Gates and all these people to drive the fear, drive the fear, drive the fear, drive the fear, and get us to submit. And that's what's happened. And people even 5-10 years ago, if you had demanded that everybody wear a mask, people would have revolted 5-10 years ago. Now they're all accepting it. And nobody likes this. You go to the store, you don't see anybody happy about it.
I've seen people that are all about it, dude.
What was that?
I've seen people that are all about it.
There are some. There's no question. You've got little, those are usually the condo. Those people are on the condo boards and whatnot, and they just delight in telling everybody what to do. And you had the people who were, there was that video of one girl walking in the park, and she had the 6-foot stick out, and she'd whack people as there. You're not social distancing, and you've got those people. You always will. But by and large, if you look at people's faces, they're not happy, but they won't do anything about it. When I see this big lineup in Costco and stuff like that, I'm just ready to turn around and say, all of you who don't want to wear the mask, take it off right now and watch them try to kick you out. They can't. But they won't do that.
No.
Because we're sheep.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to my little story.
Now that you
admit hold on, let me write. What did you write? That's right, Rabbi. Hold on a second. That's right, Rabbi. So apparently we ran off. So this was a legitimate person, this COVID-19 guy or person, and we hurt their feelings because we made fun of them or something. And all they're trying to do is help people about COVID-19. Yeah, dude, you might want to try getting a real name and showing up instead of just showing up with like that name. That guy just triggered us, or me. Anyway, so this poor relative of mine, they admit that, other things are killing it, but I have friends that have died of complications, and my career has been completely, altered and hit hard by it. And so going with the fact that, one, other things are killing us more than this. The percentages of people getting it are like so low, blah, 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 blah. I said, no, I understand. I mean, there is something out there. There is a virus out there, but it's not a pandemic. It doesn't warrant any of the stuff they're doing to us, what they're imposing on us when it comes to changing society and all that. Nothing. It's not warranting anything like that. And I go, but to be honest, technically, this virus hasn't altered your career and your income. The propaganda from another political party with an agenda has, and he loses his mind. What do you mean? What do you know about my career? How do you know that? Da, 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 da. And all those little Muppet friends come running up. These little troll friends come up. Yeah, he just said he lost his friends. And this, I'm like, wow, you might want to reread my comment. Because they lost. Going from, I understand that there's other things killing people more than this thing, but from there to, think about it. You can't say that this thing ruined your career, because it's not. It's not a virus. It's not a pandemic thing. It's what people have done to cause you to interrupt your work or whatever. Mm-hmm. They couldn't make that connection, and they all lost their mind. And what kind of, you probably, I don't understand how you could say that, and da, 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 da. You must live in a different reality or dimension. And I'm like, so instead of trying to help them understand, I basically said, yeah, I think you're probably right. We do live in different realities and dimensions, and good luck with that. I don't know if I'll really be talking to you anymore after this, because there's nothing to work with. I mean, I have a hard time interacting with people that have no basic reasoning, that aren't capable of reasoning the basics. Does that make sense? I mean, there's nothing to work with there, is there? I mean, how far are our conversations going to be able to go when I know that they're not capable of deeper thought than, you know?
Now you got everybody wanting to change their names.
Oh my God. Well, see, Smiley one, I think that's a lie, because on Monday nights when we're all on Zoom, she never shows her face. We don't know if she's smiling or not. I bet you she's at home by herself wearing a mask on these Zoom shows, these Zoom meetings we have on Monday nights. Isn't that right, Smiley? Yeah. It's true. There's just no reasoning. It's like, if you're not capable of reasoning, that means we're not going to be able to have a legitimate conversation, because I'm going to come at you. I'm going to try and have a conversation. I'm going to try and engage you. And I guarantee you, I'm going to say something that you're not going to understand. And so to explain that, we're going to have to use our brains. Yeah. And if you're not capable of using your brain, we're not going to be able to have much of a conversation.
Well, and last night we were breaking the fast over at someone's house.
Oh, you guys were fasting yesterday?
We were fasting yesterday. It's Yom Kippur. You're to afflict your souls. It's a commandment. Or you missed out on that?
Well, no, it's just I don't necessarily believe that's what it translates to. But yes, go ahead. You can please fast all you want. I fast too. Go ahead. I'm just messing with you, buddy. Hey, where'd you get that shirt? That's right, Rabbi. Let me get my puppet. I got a puppet around here somewhere.
Are you getting jealous of the attention that I'm getting?
No, I'm not. But I like your shirt.
Thank you. It was given to me by someone that I dunked last year and brought back.
To you by someone that you what last year?
Dunked. I baptized.
Dunked. Is that a new word for something else?
No.
Oh.
Don't read into it more than it is.
I don't know, man. You've been talking a lot lately about how wanting to dunk a bunch of people here in the U.S.
No.
Okay.
I didn't say dunk. I said something completely different about that. Fire up old Sparky. Anyway, so last night we were breaking the fast, and the eldest son of this couple, he lives with them. He's got some health issues that he's struggling with, and he's turned away from God, and he's very angry with God. And it's causing a lot of consternation in the family. So we got into a whole conversation last night, and it was actually quite enlightening. And, I asked him, I said, so what do you believe? And he said that I believe, and it wasn't nebulous that he said, but it was kind of along those lines. And now the word escapes me, but it was kind of this, he's agnostic. He doesn't know what to believe. And so I said, well, that's not a belief system. That just allows you to sit on the fence and criticize whatever else comes your way. And he, he kind of, was
I didn't like that. Yeah, I probably didn't like that one. You just told me the truth.
Well, yeah. And there was a number of things that I hit him with yesterday, but it was, people, I said to him that's not something to believe. That just tells me what you don't believe in.
Right.
And I said, ultimately, you have to figure out where you're going to land, and that it's got to give you peace. Whatever it is you decide to believe, I don't care what it is, but you have to believe in something, and that something has to give you peace. And if it's going to be Buddhism, knock yourself out. Because he was criticizing me for, essentially trying to ram Christianity down people's throats. And I said, well, if I believe what the Bible says, that if you don't believe in Yeshua, that you're going to spend eternity in flames, then I said, I have an obligation to tell everybody. Well, just because you believe it doesn't make it true. I said, of course not. Because that's what I've been telling him. I said, just because you deny it doesn't make it not true. Well, just because you believe it doesn't make it true. I said, no, but I believe it to be true. And so therefore, I am obligated through conscience and, of course, the Great Commission to go tell people about this. And I remember back in 2001, it was right before 9/11, I was on the streets of New York handing out tracts. If you ever want to stretch your boundaries, hand tracts out to Jewish people in New York City. Wearing a shirt like this.
Hang out tracks.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I was doing street evangelism 19 years ago. And there was one guy, and he was an older fella, and he really got upset. And he says, why do you do this? Why do you bother everybody? If you believe it, then why don't you? I said, listen, I said, according to what I understand, I said, if you don't accept Messiah and his death, burial, and resurrection, you're going to go to a very bad place. And I said, it would be irresponsible and evil of me not to warn you. I said, what you choose to do with it is up to you. I said, I'm not here to convince you everything. I'm just here to give you a point of view that you now need to go research yourself. After talking with this guy for 15 minutes, he actually changed completely around, and he said to me, and I don't know how he came to this conclusion, but he says, if there was more people like you, there'd be less crime. I'm not sure how quite that is, but it's true that if we're actually operating by our convictions and we're doing things because we believe it's best for people, then why wouldn't the world be a better place? And so everybody's got to stop sitting on the fence, and everybody's got to, break off the delusion that has encompassed the world, and it's overtaken the world, and it's overtaken the church, because people aren't thinking rationally. People aren't thinking independently. They're not going back to the scriptures and saying, well, what does God have to say about this? I don't hear that in the narrative anywhere now. When pastors are telling me that they're enforcing social distancing, they're keeping the population of the church down to 30%, they're wearing masks, they're not singing, except for John MacArthur and a few others. And I think he's starting to wake people up, and people are starting. What does God have to say about this? Have people died in churches from COVID? Yes. So why does that change anything? Why is it this virus, through all of history, you want to go back to the 14th century in Europe with the bubonic plague? Entire villages were dropping dead because of that thing. Okay. Well,
is anybody getting sick or dying of anything else these days for the last 7 months? I haven't heard of anything else.
No, apparently COVID cured cancer, and it cured heart disease, and
brought us back to two genders.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I also know what cures COVID: protesting and rioting.
Yes.
Because apparently,
when you're outside and sing with a bunch of friends, man, you're going to wipe a whole bunch of people out.
When you're protesting and rioting, COVID does not affect you whatsoever. So apparently anger and rebellion is the cure for COVID. It's just, and people aren't even thinking about this. They're not doing their basic, okay, does this make any sense?
No, they don't care. They don't care. It's like, well, if wearing a mask is going to keep you safe, and if wearing a mask is going to keep your grandma safe, and that one lung manager at Walmart that I've told you guys about a few months ago, remember that? if me wearing a mask is going to keep all of you safe, then damn it, I'm going to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting on you, Smiley, to say, that's right, Allan. We're going to sit here until you write that. Tim, man, I thought you were my pal. It's all about coffee and comedians. What's this dining with Darryl BS? What the heck is that all about? Oh my gosh.
Dining with Darryl is a good idea.
Hey, right on, Rabbi. How did you get a right on, Rabbi, from Bob? Time to start smoking again. No one is dying. I know, right? I haven't smoked in over a year. Okay, you know what?
There you go.
We're gonna call this the Darryl show, and I'm just gonna sleep in on Tuesday mornings. I've had a good run. I'll see you guys later.
See, look what you did. You triggered the poor boy. He has a tough veneer, but anyway. Okay, you done sulking? You can come back now.
Did you say I have a tough ear? I have an ear?
I said veneer.
Oh my gosh. I crack myself up. I do this to entertain myself. I'm so alone.
Tell you.
Okay, so what's all right? So with your Canadian point of view, oh, here we go again.
Oh, well.
Go to bed. That's right. I do. I have a face for radio. I do. With your, since everyone loves you this morning, we're going to give you some more opportunity to talk, and I'll just kind of sit here and watch and learn. Obviously, watch and learn from the rabbi.
Take notes.
Hey, that's the name. That's the new show. Watch and learn from the rabbi with Allan. Join Allan as we watch and learn from Rabbi Darryl.
Yeah, just throw.
He's cooking his breakfast every Tuesday morning.
Just throw up some softball questions, like with the Joe Biden interviews.
I don't know anything about softball. So we've got 6 weeks before the end of the world. 5, I think now.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the question?
What the hell's gonna happen here, man? You got your lawn chair and your popcorn ready to go. Just sit there in your lawn chair on the border there, looking down at us, Americans.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and we're close to the border too. I'm like 15 minutes away. It's if something happens, I'm not sure we're far enough away.
It's like a fireworks show. Woo! Whoa,
I'm telling you. Well, I think there's a cleansing going on right now. And I think with what is happening, especially with things like the return, there's a lot of people who they're repenting, and this is what God's desire is. And if enough people do that, and if people are serious about this, then I do believe that God is going to step in. I don't think this is the end yet. I think there's more time left.
Right.
So the Democrats, I believe, put themselves like they overplayed their hand. They thought the U.S. was ready for this. They thought that they had enough propaganda and enough years of indoctrination. And they're not realizing that people still don't like it when you vandalize their neighborhood and burn things down and riot and kill people in the streets. They don't believe that, the end justifies the means. And so they're rebelling against that. You've got groups that are popping up like Proud Boys and, Patriots. And there's a lot of them who have been warning for a while and said, we're not going to put up with this much longer. And if these people, like there's one, I don't know if you've seen it or not, there's one classic video where there's this big monster of a Marine, and he's standing there with his buddy, and this little pipsqueak of an Antifa guy. I mean, the guy must be 130 pounds soaking wet. And the shorter guy turns his head, and then the Antifa guys go throw a punch, and then the big monster Marine just sticks out his hand and blocks it. And then you see him go, oh, it's great.
Well, there's an actual video of an Antifa guy taking a pot shot at some other guy. And the guy next to him actually reached down and grabbed the guy.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's a Marine. I mean, the guy is like, he's built like a brick chisel, and he's just pop. It was straight out of a Jason Statham movie or something like that.
Right. I've got another meme regarding Patriots and Antifa that I've never been able to share because it's not graphic or nothing weird like that, but it's just like, yeah, that's kind of how it's going to go down. I mean, it's like here, for example, the guy in Austin shoots 5 rounds with an AR-15 into a car and misses. The guy in the car shoots 3 times and all 3 on target.
Yeah. How do you? And this guy was apparently in the army. How do you shoot 5 times at close range and miss?
Well, I don't know. Let's ask a 17-year-old kid from Kenosha who was running and falling on the ground. They got all shots on target.
Yeah.
That guy's arm, man. Sausage McMuffin, man.
Yeah, it's so I don't think it's over. And listen, we've still got Sukkot.
Training in muscle memory. All right. And and as spiritual warfare, if you're not training and have that muscle memory and spiritual warfare, you'll go down just like the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we teach on Monday nights. But anyway, go on. It's your show. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Don't let it happen again. Yeah, it's like, we just have to be vigilant. This is why I've been, pushing Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. Do you know the Chuck Girard song about that? It is a great song. Back in, I think it was late 70s that he came out with that, early 80s or something.
Yeah, I only really know the early 70s Chuck Girard, not the later days. What song is it?
It's called Blessed Be the Lord, My Rock.
Yeah, no.
I
know Hand to the Plow. Isn't that like 1971 or 72 or something like that?
Yeah. But just a phenomenal song. I mean, just encouraging, and it's all about spiritual warfare. It's all about strapping on the armor. It's about God leading His armies. It's an incredibly powerful song. And if you need to kind of get yourself up, I suggest listening to this. It's an amazing song. But we've got Sukkot coming up this weekend. Friday night. Woohoo! So Saturday we're going to be doing our regular 12 noon broadcast, but it's going to be Sukkot, and we're going to be doing it at the church. And we're gauging things right now to see whether we're ready to move our fellowship over to the church full time. So it's been my desire to get the congregation set up. We've had some people who have started to come out, and I think God is getting ready we have to be ready for the harvest. And if this is a biblical year, that Passover was a true Passover, and the fall feasts are God's time of prophetic unleashing, where we had trumpets, and then true repentance that was happening, and with everybody. I mean, that whole thing in Washington, there were thousands and thousands of people there. That has got to move the heavenlies. Yeah. And I was listening to some of the prayers, and like they were just repenting and asking God to forgive everything.
Yeah. Hey, have we talked about the multiple rabbinical prophecies that are even hundreds of years old regarding this year, and how it's like the last one without Messiah?
No, we haven't touched on that yet.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've heard little bits about it.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry for interrupting you again, Rabbi. Well,
listen, you'll understand how this works soon enough.
I'll get it together.
So, but we've got Sukkot this week, and Sukkot is the commemoration of God's dwelling amongst us. Well, what God is going to make like a supernatural appearance because of all the stuff that's been going on.
I might not know what I'm doing here, but I have written some books about it.
Yes. Because
oh no, how do you do that? It's like that magic stuff. Look at that.
This thing is spiritual.
I can't believe how you pull that out of your JPEG.
Did
you pull it out of your JPEG?
You didn't know I had that kind of technology.
Oh my gosh. God. Watch me pull a JPEG out of my hat.
Yes. Ta-da. Yeah, it's like, so
look at Smiley. Look at Smiley.
So the more we get closer to things about, the closer we get to things of significance like the election and everything else, the more excited I get, because I'm seeing God maneuver things and position things. And I'm anticipating something to happen on Sukkot. And why wouldn't something happen? I mean, God calls us to his appointed times because he has something to bestow upon us. He has something to unleash upon us.
And how, so here's what's interesting. So, because we kind of covered different areas of the table. I'm a little interested. I think I'm finding it interesting how quiet the prophetic airspace has been.
Yeah.
Regarding the fall feast, and especially Sukkot. I mean, I just came from one of the most highly charged prophetic conferences there is in this country yearly. I was just at it. And, my wife and I, as we're driving home, we're like, this wasn't as dynamic. I mean, it could have been also because of the way they had it set up. We had, instead of all of us inside the main room, they had us in 3 or 4 separate rooms. No masks though, so that was good. But that could have made it feel it. But I'm like, no, I only really heard one person speak with any sort of dynamic authority. And usually it's like your head is spinning because it's like one after another, after another, after another from all over the planet, all over this beautiful, flat, dark earth that we have, are speaking and they're like supporting each other. It's like, oh, wow, look at all these various leaders from all over the world saying the same thing because it's one spirit.
Yeah.
But this time around, we didn't, books under his belt now. Yeah. But this time out, it wasn't so, it just, they missed it. It wasn't as dynamic. It wasn't as prophetic. I think there was a lot of grasping for straws going on, and they really didn't say anything of substance regarding what's going on and what we're about to enter. I mean, that's my take on it. And I'm the guy that leaves from this thing with a plethora of content to glean from. Does that make sense? And I'm like, yeah, no, there just wasn't a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, it seems like there's so much prophetically that was happening, especially around the spring.
Yeah.
And things got kind of quiet, although I have seen some stuff come out. Like I've gotten a few really intense emails from Lana Vosser. I don't know if you follow her stuff out of Australia.
I don't know. We don't trust people, Australian prophets, since they're all NASA, employees. Because Australia doesn't really exist. You didn't know that?
Oh, right. Because it's on the bottom part. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, go
on. She's come out with some things and just talking about she's been speaking a lot about alignment and how God is positioning things.
That is a word. Okay, so here's what we did here. Here's what I gleaned to interrupt you only because it's in alignment with that. Alignment, know who your tribe is, know who your people are.
Yeah.
Alignment, know who your people are. And I think that might just be it. That might be it.
Well, but everybody was prepared for this. So, there was enough prophecy that came out that said, here's what's going to happen. And obviously a huge marker is November 3rd, because that is going to determine, and we don't know how it's all going to play out. I mean, they're finding ballots that are stuffed in dumpsters and in ditches and stuff like that. The Democrats are already planning on contesting. Now you've got the whole Supreme Court thing and God taking Ginsburg out right before the election, and all these poor lefties and libtards and snowflakes that are absolutely, and they're cursing her for not hanging on to the end of the year.
I saw this. It was one of my favorite actresses, but again, Hollywood, and they're like, I'm there, but if you're going to call me a snowflake, know this: winter is coming. Yeah, baby. Oh my gosh, that is
that's great.
Oh my gosh, you just said that. It's like all over. I saw it all over social media about a week or so ago.
Oh,
snowflake. Well, winter is coming. Yeah.
That's right. And all the snowflakes are going to just kind of meld into one. Wow. So, I mean, prophecy is about what's going to happen in the U.S. because the U.S. is really the center of everything right now. What happens in the U.S. will determine what happens in the world. And how this is all going to play out, there's a lot of people who are saying that after Trump finally wins this election, we don't even know how that's going to be sorted out. But God is obviously going to have to intervene because they're
last time, man.
The Democrats now are using every tactic that they have at their disposal in order
they're talking about going rogue, illegal on this thing.
Well, everything they've done has been illegal.
Well, yeah,
I mean, the whole impeachment sham.
Yeah, it's just been.
And how did they think that was going to go through with a Republican Senate? Did they think that they were going to buy off enough people? Were they going to, John Roberts everybody and get him to turn over and blackmail him? Like, I don't know.
I really want to understand how these people are still holding the Democrat Party line after the last 4 years. I really need to understand. They have to be so incredibly blinded by their hatred of Trump. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Because none of it makes sense to me. None of this makes sense to me. And doesn't it cause anyone to pause how the liberal Democrats are all about the masks and the Rona and the socialism distancing and the blah, blah, blah.
Except
blah,
Pelosi
blah.
in the salon, except Feinstein in the airport.
And even what's that woman that just died? She officiated a marriage ceremony without a mask on.
Ginsburg?
Yeah, there's pictures of it. Yeah. But anyway, then you have the conservative Republicans that are like, no. So isn't it interesting how this thing's dividing party lines?
One of the things I said to the guy last night that I was talking to, who I said, believing in nebulous, believing in, again, I still can't remember the word. It'll come to me as soon as the show ends, of course. Believing in this, ethereal, I don't have to take a position on anything. I said, those days are coming to an end. And I said, Jesus says, if you're not for me, you're against me. Yeah. There's no middle line anymore.
That's a definitive line. If you're not for me, you're against me.
Yeah. And this is what people have to decide is what side of the fence that they're going to have to take a stand, because whether or not you make a choice or not, Rush came out with a song called Free Will. And it says in one of the verses, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. One of the most profound songs and verses in rock history. It's all about free will. Now, these guys are all atheists, all Jewish atheists.
Well, I like Bowie's line, when it's good, it's really good, but when it's bad, I go to pieces.
Yeah.
It's no answer is an answer.
Yeah. And so you have to decide as to what you're going to stand for now, because you're not going to be allowed to, people are going to come to your door, because where does this come? What is the ultimate test of this? It's the mark of the beast. And, people are saying that the COVID vaccine is it. I don't think the COVID vaccine is the mark of the beast. It's a prelude. I think it's setting people up to be conditioned for it. And that's why we got to be praying like mad that God intervenes, stops the thing, stops Bill Gates, stops Fauci. But it is the conditioning and preparing us, because the mark of the beast is an act of worship. And so that worship is going to be tied into you being able to buy or sell. So if you don't worship the false god, you won't be able to eat, and your family won't be able to eat. That's a pretty stark choice. But then the Bible says, of course, that if you take the mark, that you can't be saved, because you've now made the decision, more than likely, that the what's going to be in that mark, however it is applied, whether it's a vaccine, whether it's a tattoo, that whatever it is, it's going to, number one, change your DNA. And number two, it's going to make you unable at that point to repent and change your mind. Because there's going to be something spiritual. There's going to be something demonic. You have the liberal hive mind that, kind of like the Borg.
Oh yeah. We have
biblical evidence for this. because it says in Joel chapter 2, they rush on the city, they run on the walls. And, we have that song from the Gaithers, blow the trumpet in Zion, Zion. It's like the God's army. That's not talking about God's army. That's talking about the Antichrist army. That's the transhumanist army. That is the super soldier that are all locked in together through the hive mind. So they're all being conditioned. They're all being given instructions from the same entity all at the same time. And so they all move in lockstep with each other. So the mark of the beast ultimately is going to be a combination of AI, transhumanism, DNA modification. It's going to be all of this stuff molded in together. So the COVID vaccine is going to be a step toward that. And I've heard people say, I've heard pastors say, well, when it comes to the masks, we're not really going to fight because this isn't the mark of the beast. And I said, if you don't fight this now, you won't be able to stop the mark of the beast. You're not going to be able to take that position then. You've got to start training now. You've got to start defying now. You've got to start rebelling against ungodly instructions now, because you're not going to do it when it's a whole lot harder.
Which is essentially part of the word that I gave. Gee, Rabbi, what a show. Oh my God. Which is essentially what I said October 1st of last year.
Yeah.
That prophetic word that if you haven't figured this stuff out yet, you probably won't be able to.
No.
Smiley.
Resistance is not futile. No, it's not, because our God is bigger than all of their plans. I mean, when you think about it, the army that comes against Israel at the end of the tribulation period is going to be the most fantastic army that the world has ever seen. It's going to make the Tower of Babel and even, what was going on pre-Diluvian with Atlantis and everything else pale in comparison. I mean, you're going to have Nephilim back. You're going to have giants. You're going to have super soldiers and everything else.
Like I said, what's coming is
ancient.
Is ancient.
Yeah.
But we don't have to fear it because
we serve the Ancient of Days.
Yeah. That's like a real thing. I mean, when that came out of my mouth, I went, "Oh, there's something going on about this." Obviously, yeah. It's
But look how Yeshua deals with it when he comes back. Yeah. I mean, it's just he says a word and the whole thing just comes to an end. The biggest rebellion in history, and Satan's been working for 6,000 years at putting this together. Yeah. And it's like, you're done. And the beast and the false prophet, they get tossed into the lake of fire by a word. So we
shut up, Smiley.
Nothing to fear. But just because we don't have anything to fear doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
Right. No, yeah. It's going to be, well, that's why we're prepping people on Monday nights for warfare and yeah.
So these are exciting times, but you have to be ready. Because a soldier who was prepared was excited to go to war.
Yeah.
I love the definition of meek. The Romans used to call their war horses meek, because meek doesn't mean wimpy. Meek means power under control. They were instantly obedient to the master. They were ready to go, but they didn't move until the master said so.
Yeah.
Yeshua was meek. Yeshua says that he is meek and lowly of heart in Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all are heavy laden. And Yeshua was no wimp. And we're the same thing, that if we've got the power of the Holy Spirit, we move when God says so.
Yeah, and that's the thing we talk about on Monday nights. Those of you that are in here that are on Monday nights, it's just as important to know when to hold as it is to when to go and when to go left and when to go right.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know your master's voice so that you can follow the instructions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Sukkot,
really appreciate Sukkot's coming. Really appreciate you having me on your show this morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
If you want, you can come back next week.
Yeah. I might just do that. It's going to be interesting.
It is.
It's going to be an interesting next 5 weeks or so, 6 weeks, you know.
Well, we need to be in prayer. We need to be constantly repenting, and we need to be in tune with the Holy Spirit so that we know what moves our next move, because our survival with what's coming is going to depend on the leading of the Holy Spirit.
It's all about that, man, because without it, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how you can do this thing. I mean, you can't do this thing. And I've seen the people that have tried to do this thing without the Holy Spirit, and they're jacked up, man.
Yeah.
They're all jacked up. Jeez.
Exactly. So Dina says that that we crack her up because what we remind her of is, hang on. Hang on. Here we go. Oh. It's not working now.
What's going on?
Oh, I was just trying to share something, but it's not working. All right. Anyway, never mind. Okay, well.
What does my cup say? That's the name of God with the vowel points.
Yes.
As found in documented transcripts, hidden and thrown away and tossed in the bin by the Vatican. Yeah. I've seen it. Yeah. I've got a shirt. Right. I've got stickers. I've got a shirt. I'm gonna have it tattooed on me. Yeah.
All right. Well, I got another meeting I got to jump to. So.
Oh, gee, you got to go? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess. Well, before you go, then does that mean